Hello, students. Mr. Young here, Chapter 6, Lesson 2. The war continues. So, America is going to win the revolution. We shouldn't be surprised by this. We do live in the United States, do we? Indeed we do. But it was a bold move, and no doubt the collective awesomeness of every man, woman, child, Minuteman, and Founding Father was a major contributing factor to their victory. But independence was not won without help. In this lesson, we're going to explore the help the fledgling country received in these times of uncertainty. Let's check it out on the very next page. Alright, so by the year 1777, our old friend Benjamin Franklin had been in France for a year. His mission was to advocate to France on behalf of the colonies. The ultimate goal was to have a full-fledged alliance with France against Britain. So, have France in a full-scale war against Britain. Up to this point, it had been unsuccessful. He had secured some secret financial assistance, like secret loans, but that had been all. The colonies were short on friends because, well, no one thought they would win. They were the underdog, and no one wants to back a losing horse. Things changed after Saratoga. We talked about the Battle of Saratoga a little bit in the last lesson. We basically said it was a turning point in the war. That's what historians say. It was considered the major turning point in the war. A major British army had been taken out of the fight and defeated in the field. After Saratoga, other countries of the world basically said, maybe these colonists can actually win. So in 1778, as a direct result of the colonial victory at Saratoga, France joined America in declaring war on Britain. France immediately sent money, equipment, and troops to the colonies. Like France, Spain was no friend of Britain, but not really a friend of the colonies either. Spain and the United States never had an official alliance, but Spain did declare war on Britain in 1779, tying up British forces in what would become the American South. So, sort of an enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing, but not really not Spain is our friend, but hey, they don't like Britain, so that's cool. Now, news traveled pretty slowly across the ocean. So Ben Franklin gets this sweet alliance, but news has to go back on a ship. He wasn't able to grab his phone and shoot a text over to George Washington guess what, George? What is it, Ben Franklin? He's like, France just stopped on the Freedom Train, yo. No way. Oh yeah, next stop, punch King George in the face, Bill. Hashtag America. Hashtag France rules, Britain rules, lols. So on and so forth. How you crazy kids text each other. Word had to travel by ship. It took months. Meanwhile, George Washington and his men in the Continental Army hunkered down for the winter at Valley Forge, where they froze their butts off. It was cold and miserable. They didn't have any warm clothing or shoes. There was only poor shelter and a lack of food. The hardest part for George Washington at this point was keeping his army together. Officers were just walking away. Men were deserting. Volunteers, including George Washington's wife, Martha Washington, tried to help by treating the sick men, sewing clothing for them, things like that. But it was not good. Disease spread rapidly in the camp. It was bad times. But winter gave way to spring, and conditions gradually did improve. In April of 1778, Washington informed the men that they had an official alliance with France, and that was just the morale boosted they need to carry on and keep fighting. Now let's talk about this help on the battlefield. France had hopped on the Freedom Train, but even before that, there had been sporadic foreign support, mostly in the form of specific individuals. Like, for example, Marquis de Lafayette was a young Frenchman that came to America in 1777. He offered his services to George Washington as an advisor. Early in the war, he worked for free, he didn't take any pay, and he ended up becoming one of Washington's most trusted advisors. Another guy, Polish man by the name of Thaddeus Kosciuszko, was a guy that designed and built American defense structures, sort of like a fortification specialist. Another Polish guy, Casimir Pulaski, attained the rank of general and died fighting for the colonies in 1779. Perhaps the most famous name in terms of foreigners helping to win the revolution was a Prussian military officer by the name of Frederick von Steuben. Von Steuben basically whipped the Continental Army into shape into a professional fighting force, like the ultimate drill instructor. Here he is teaching them, learning them some soldiering. Now, life on the home front. The life of an army family, or any service member now, hasn't really changed much in that the family has to make do without that person. The shop has to stay open, the harvest still needs planted and collected, there's still bills to pay and mouths to feed. So everyone has to get along without the man of the house in a time where men did a lot of that manual labor and women didn't. The strained family lives of patriots was not the only problem, though. The Congress did not have the power to tax, which meant they had no way to make money to pay for the war. The states did give money to Congress for, the war effort, but it wasn't nearly enough to cover all the bills. In an attempt to fix this problem, Congress just started to print money. Money not backed by any precious metals, so it wasn't worth anything. I have a dollar floating around here somewhere. So even today, we have dollars, right? This dollar is worth a dollar because theoretically it's backed up by something. Some kind of commodity that the United States have. This is getting into a little bit, but originally we had a gold standard, which meant every dollar was worth a dollar because you could trade it for a dollar's amount, for a certain amount of gold. Like it could actually be exchanged for precious metals. Now it's just kind of like worth a dollar because it's backed by something theoretically. If you have a dollar and it's got a stamp on it, like this one has a black stamp, if it's got red on it, it's actually backed by gold. Or if it has blue on it, it's actually backed by silver. So you could theoretically take that dollar you have and exchange it for gold or silver. This one has a black stamp on it, so I can't exchange it for any precious metals. Lame. Anyways, so they printed this money, but it wasn't backed by anything. It was only worth a dollar because they said it was worth a dollar, and so nobody really trusted it to be worth anything. That would essentially be the same as if I started giving you all 1 million yuan bucks, which we have here. It's basically fake money that I just make and tell you it's worth something. That's what Congress basically did. You know, if you give you 1 million yuan bucks and you try to spend it at the store, people will laugh at you. And they'd say, what a handsome dollar. Alright, hey, the printing of all this worthless money led to what's called inflation. Basically, it's when your money is not worth anything because there's too much of it. It has to deal with scarcity. So, no one would take the paper money printed by Congress if they tried to use it to buy stuff. No one would take it. So they just stopped printing it, and now it's just a historical artifact of worthless money. Soon, Congress had no money at all. Now, with this whole war for independence, freedom, and equality, that kind of thing raging on, some people that weren't feeling the love, weren't feeling the freedom, began to ask questions. For example, women. They couldn't vote. They didn't have any political power. What's up with that? African Americans, be they free or slaves, were like, why are we fighting a war for independence? I'm not independent. They began to ask questions. Some legislators, some leaders, specifically in the North, began asking those questions too. They saw the hypocrisy of the situation of fighting for freedom, but allowing slavery seemed a little paradoxical there. And they began to outlaw slavery in their respective states, mostly in the North. Well, yeah, all in the North. Slavery in the nation as a whole would continue for quite some time. Civil War marking period 3. But for now, basically it started in the North to be outlawed. I believe Pennsylvania was the first legislature in the entire world to actually begin the outlawing of slavery process. That might be a quiz question. Might be a test question. Wink, wink. But hey, if you want to see it in the book, it's right there in Chapter 6, Lesson 2, next to last subsection called Questioning Slavery. It's in there. Loyalists. We mentioned loyalists in the virtual lessons. Basically, you had people living in the colonies that were still loyal to King George III and the Crown. We mentioned that a lot of them had to run away. Sometimes they went basically to where there were more loyalists. So a lot of them went to Canada, some of them moved down to Spanish Florida, some of them moved back to Britain. But some of them chose to stay where they were and stick it out, which could be bad. They were usually shunned if they were in a patriot majority village. And sometimes they even got killed for it. So that's a pretty extreme case. It'd be kind of like being a Steelers fan and wearing my Steelers jersey to an Eagles home game off there in Philly. Like, it's just a bad idea. I'm looking for trouble. Alright, let's bump on to our assignment for the day. It's a quiz. If you ace it, I'll give you 1,000,000 yen bucks. It's a standard yen quiz. And then today, it's Thursday, so we have to move on to the current event assignment. Remember, 2 paragraphs. First paragraph, summary of the article. Second paragraph, your opinion on the article or why you chose it, something like that. Don't forget to tell me where the article came from. So if it's from a website, give me the link to the article. It's from a physical source, give me the name of the article, the name of the publication, and the date, please. That's it. Alright, if you have any questions, let me know. Fun lesson today. Have a good one.